I'm Lon Helton, inviting you to join me as I count down the week's top 30 with Blake Shelton from his rented home in the Hollywood Hills.
Oh, yeah, it just screams my personality. The Naked People was a plus for me. I mean, it's a little Elvis-y for me, I think.
That's Blake Shelton this week on Country Countdown USA.
It's time for the week's top 30. Hey, everybody, I'm Blake Shelton, and these are a few of my hits.
I'll be your honeybee. It's all about tonight. Your hillbilly boom, 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 boom.
I have a song in the top 5, and it sounds like this.
So tell me what I gotta do to win you over.
We'll play that song and more as I count down the hits with Lon Helton of Country Air Check. Right now, here's Lon with this week's hottest song.
Well, thanks, Blake. And our radio stations give the honor to Little Big Town and Pontoon. Star who helps by the studio to give me a hand counting down the hits. But this week, we are not in the studio in Nashville. We are in Hollywood.
And we couldn't come up with a real star.
So we got Blake Shelton. I would just say the palatial estate here.
Palatial. What's the definition of palatial?
This is a big house that you are living in here.
It's a big, empty, stupid house, isn't it?
Would you buy this house?
No, I would not. But you know what? It's funny because when we signed on to do the second season of The Voice, which has been a year ago, I knew I was going to be out here a lot, and I wanted it to be interesting enough that Miranda would come and spend some time here. And to me, that means swimming pool and lots of room and places for dogs to run around. And so I saw this place, and it's an awesome house. It's just, it's a little Elvis-y for me, I think.
It's big, and we're going to talk a lot about it as we get along, actually, because you were telling me this is actually where you recorded the Christmas album. Mm-hmm. So season 3 of The Voice is getting underway real soon. Got a song in the week's top 5 called Over. Christmas album, as we mentioned. You're busy.
Every time I think, oh, well, it can't be busier than that year.
I don't think it can get busier than this from some of the things I've heard about your schedule. And we'll talk about that. Right now, though, we'll get the countdown started with our co-host Blake Shelton. And at number 30, here's the latest from Eric Church, Creepin'. The latest from Eric Church, kicking off the week's top 30, that's Creepin'. My co-host this week is Blake Shelton. His current song is called Over, and it's still way ahead in the top 5, as a matter of fact. But,
yes.
Which is why we're here. Talk a little bit about the video. First of all, where was that shot? Was it the salt flats or the desert? Or
it's the desert area, like going towards the desert area here in California. And it was a dry lake bed, and it's just people go out there and they ride their dune buggies and four-wheelers and camp and stuff. And there we set up a tent in the middle of that thing and shot the video. And man, you want to talk about hot. I mean, there's times where in that video where you'll see me sitting in that house where the fire around me is it's superimposed, but then there's other spots where it's not, and they actually do have fire all around me and behind me and stuff. And I mean, there were times where I swore my shirt was melting, like it stuck to my back. You know what I mean? It was like you could smell burnt hair.
Yeah, I think when I saw that, I thought, gosh, Miranda is rubbing off on Blake because she likes to burn stuff up and burn stuff down.
Apparently, what do they call it? Fire.
Pyromaniac.
Yeah, it must be addictive.
Oh, shoot. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll talk some more about the song when it comes up on the countdown. Right now, though, this is our co-host Blake Shelton, and Over.
If I could.
Justin Moore up 1 at number 28, Till My Last Day. And we're here counting down the hits this week with Blake Shelton. And I think the last time we talked, the song you wrote with your wife Miranda Lambert, Over You, was in the top 10. Since, of course, it has gone on to number 1, won a CMT award, and I suspect will be in line for a few other awards this season. But I'm kind of curious now that it's had all this success, just kind of what that song has come to mean to you.
Well, I've never been a part of something as far as being a writer goes that touched so many people. Mm-hmm. But more importantly for me, I've never been a part of something as a writer that touched me so much. I mean, I've written a lot of songs that you just think of words that rhyme and come up with a good melody, and that's all there is to it, and hope for the best. But that's the first time I've ever really just sat down and wrote a song specifically about somebody and something that happened. And that's probably the most refreshing thing that has happened to me and for me as somebody in the country music industry, to see that our audience still does demand and react to things that are real.
Yeah. Well, here's a song we've been talking about. It's your wife, Miranda Lambert, in Over You. It's Over You. Of course, Miranda's husband, Blake Shelton, is along as my co-host this week. So has having written that song, has it changed the way you write?
You know, I don't think I've written a song since I wrote Over You, and that's probably been a year and a half ago, maybe longer than that.
Because of your busy schedule, or you think it's something
I don't know.
else?
I don't know. It's not that I haven't tried or had some ideas,
Mm-hmm.
but now that you bring that up, I don't know why. I guess I just feel satisfied for the time being, and artistically like happy and fulfilled. I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. It's just amazing that you haven't written a song in a year and a half after that. Well, anyway, let's head back to the countdown here with our co-host Blake Shelton, and we're at number 27. Here's Greg Bates, Did It for the Girl. Jake Owen up 1 and number 26, The One That Got Away. We're here counting down the hits this week with Blake Shelton, actually at his Hollywood Hills home.
I wish people could see us sitting. We're literally sitting cross-legged on the floor because this furniture in this house is so stupid.
It would actually.
Are we in Asia right now? What are we doing?
This would destroy the myth, that's for sure. Because not only are we sitting on a floor, but this table that is holding the microphones and the tape recorder, I'm not sure is going to stand up for the whole
Well,
thing.
in Hollywood here, we don't actually have furniture that's like usable. It's just to look at. This is probably my glass and your tape recorder there are probably the two heaviest things that's ever been on this table. It's not meant to be functional.
Well, if only people can see that it's about to fall down. But I'll tell you what, folks can see what we're talking about, actually, at countrycountdownusa.com. Got a lot of pictures about things that we've been talking about here through the show. As Blake Shelton and I head back to the countdown here at number 25, this is Lady Antebellum, Wanted You More.
I kept waiting.
Antebellum up 1 to number 25. That's Wanted You More. I've got Blake Shelton along as my co-host this week, and up next is the latest from Chris Young. Of course, you were on the road a little bit with him last spring. Have you gotten to know Chris?
I consider Chris Young, somebody who's truly a friend. I mean, I do, and I think we have a lot of the same taste in music. And Chris said something to me one time that it still blows me away. When he was a teenager. And I had just moved to Nashville for the first couple of years. He used to come watch me play at Douglas Corner there in Nashville when I would do writers' nights, and he told me all the songs I used to sing. And that's before I ever even had anything going on. I didn't even have a song out on the radio. And just to know that he was paying attention back then, and he was going to watch writers, and I was one of the ones that he saw along the way.
Wow.
And it had an impact on him,
Yeah.
And that reminds me of me, because I've always felt like I've been a studier of traditional country artists, and that's what Chris has done, I think.
Yeah, I think that's what both you guys have done, actually. We are talking about Chris Young, who's at number 24 in the countdown with Neon.
The sky.
Thomas Rhett at number 23, Something to Do with My Hands. We're here counting down the hits with my co-host Blake Shelton. We've been talking about the fact we're at the Hollywood Hills home that you're renting while you're out here doing the TV show. And we're actually in your media room, and to my left is a little stage. And you were telling me before that this is actually where you brought in people to record your Christmas album.
Yeah, you should take a picture of that and put it on your
Yeah, I will.
website so people will understand. But yeah, it's like a little home movie theater thing that was built into this house. And so I ended up singing, literally, I sang my entire Christmas album, every track, standing right here in this room where we're sitting in that little stage up there. And then we ended up bringing Reba came over and did her song with me on the Christmas album. Kelly Clarkson came and did hers right here in this room. We didn't get Bublé in here. We actually did his vocal in the studio downtown and somewhere where he's comfortable working. I don't think he felt good about coming over to the porn house and singing a duet with me. You know what I'm saying? So
I can understand that, I think. In fact, we'll talk some more about that duet in just a little bit, the one you did with Michael Bublé for this Christmas album. But now, along with my co-host Blake Shelton, we're heading back to the charts at 22. This is Jared Neiman, Shining on Me. Rascal Flatts up a couple to number 20. That's Come Wake Me Up. We're here counting down the hits this week with Blake Shelton. And a bit ago, we were talking about your new Christmas album and the fact that you do a duet with pop singer Michael Bublé. How exactly did that come about? How'd you pitch it to him?
I said, man, here's what I want to do. I want us to do a duet on the Christmas album together, and I want you, if you would, rewrite the lyrics to Home and make it a Christmas song, Going Home for Christmas. And I remember thinking, well, this takes a lot of nerve, to send Michael Bublé this. And
ask him to rewrite the song.
I know, rewrite your most famous
song. He must really like you.
I was wondering. I was testing the waters for sure, and I got an email back from him. Seriously, maybe just a few hours later, said, "I'm on it. This will be awesome." And about a week later, I kind of wasn't even thinking about it. I got an email from him, said, "How's this?" And he had rewritten the song and made it a Christmas song. And I said, "That's awesome. The only thing I need now is for you to come and sing on it if you would." So he did. He came down, and it worked out good because he's my mentor this year on The Voice, and spent about 4 or 5 days there together. And I tell you, the guy is the most awesome, classy, funny dude. If he is who you think he is. I mean, he's just a guy that's just got so much charisma. He walks into a room and people are just taken by him. You know what I mean? It's neat to be around him.
Yeah, and of course, we're talking about Michael Bublé, who's on your Christmas album. But here is the original version of the song we're talking about. It's my co-host Blake Shelton in Home.
Another summer.
My co-host Blake Shelton with the number 1 from 2008, that's Home. Of course, Blake's current hit is Over, still way ahead in the top 5. Right now, though, Blake and I are at number 19, and this song actually belongs to your wife, Miranda Lambert. And I have to admit, it's always hard to hear her sing a song without thinking that you might be part of this. But the fastest girl in town, is there anywhere?
I hope not. There's nothing redeeming about me being the guy in this song.
Yeah, well, there's not too much redeeming about this song.
I know. It's I don't like you as a guy, and
I thought maybe just a warning to you.
I guess so. It's I think it's just a fun song, though. Listening to the song, and especially now seeing the video, and now I know that's exactly the vision that Miranda had too. It's kind of a Thelma and Louise type of lyric and type of attitude. You know what I mean? And I think it's one of them that you don't really need to think too hard about about the lyrics. It's just a rock song, man. I mean, it's just, and when you see her perform it live in concert, it all kind of comes together and makes sense. And it's an important song for her and her live show and her just overall career, I think.
Talking about Miranda Lambert, she's at 19 and fastest girl in town.
You got the booty.
Carrie Underwood moving up 3 to number 18, Blown Away. We're here counting down the hits this week with Blake Shelton. We're actually at his home. We're not in the studio. We're at the Hollywood Hills of Los Angeles. And of course, you're living here because you're now doing season 3 of The Voice. Tell me what's going on in The Voice. What are you doing like right now? Because you're just taping stuff, right?
Yeah, we're taping. I don't know if you remember or not, but it's called the Battle Rounds, which is... when we start eliminating people from our teams while they sing duets, and we've actually just finished that portion. But this year, they've made some rule changes to the show. So now, after the battle rounds, there's what they call a knockout battle or something, and it's basically where whoever's left on your team. Which, by the way, we started with 16 this year.
Holy cow!
I know. And we have these things called steals, where we can actually take somebody from someone else's team. I mean, it's really cutthroat. The way they did it this year, and I think the show is probably about 50% better than it was, because people love the blind auditions, the button pushing, and the banter that goes back and forth, and the way they're doing it this year keeps that part of the show going throughout the battle rounds right up until the live shows, and I love that.
Oh, I do too. I think everybody does. As you said, it's good fun. But I hang on to that for a second, because I want to ask one more question about The Voice, and we'll do that after we hear number 17 in the countdown. Here's Thompson Square and Glass. 17, that's Glass. Blake Shelton's my co-host this week. We're talking about season 3 of The Voice, and I think the last time you were here, you said you really didn't like the battle rounds.
Mm-hmm. I didn't like them, and I still don't like to have to send anybody home. But this year, with them putting in place these things they call steals,
This could be the
don't-
bloodshed, it seems to me.
Yeah, it's fun because you don't just say bye to something. There's still that little bit of hope that if somebody didn't win the battle round, another coach may still hit their button and take them on to work with them on their team, and it just really keeps you on the edge of your seat. I was sitting there doing it and was on the edge of my seat wondering, oh my God, are they gonna pick my person here? You know what I mean? And it really is. It's exciting.
A reminder, too, for everybody that Season 3 of The Voice gets underway September 10th on NBC TV. As we head back to the countdown here, Blake and I are at number 16. This is Big and Rich, and That's Why I Pray.
Man,
Easton Corbin picking up a couple of number 15. That's Loving You Is Fun. Blake Shelton is this week's countdown co-host, and actually Easton, of course, is one of just several country stars going to be joining you on the Blake Shelton cruise that gets underway in October. What do you kind of anticipate this cruise thing is going to be?
Well, I've pretty much cut out a reputation for myself that I have no pride, and I definitely like to have fun and have a drink, and I anticipate similar people buying cabins for this thing that don't take themselves too seriously, that just like to have fun and cut up and not trying to stir up trouble, just trying to be funny and have fun. You know what I mean? I really expect to see a lot of people like that on the cruise, as far as fans go, and people that just don't care.
Even better, here on the show, we have a cabin to give away.
Oh, do you really?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, we worked it out. Folks can go to countrycountdownusa.com, and the rules and all the details are there. You know how that legal stuff is. You got to be 18 or older to enter. The deadline is September 16th, and folks can enter for a chance to win a trip on that Blake Shelton cruise at countrycountdownusa.com. As we head back to the countdown, Blake and I are number 14. Here's Jason Aldean with a rather appropriate song here. Take a little ride. Dustin Lynch once again at number 12. That's Cowboys and Angels. And we're counting down the hits this week along with Blake Shelton. We're at the home he rents out here in the Hollywood Hills in Los Angeles as he does the TV show The Voice, of course. Now that you've been living here a little while, have you had a chance just to do the touristy LA stuff, seen the sights?
Man, living in LA is you would think that there's plenty to do. There's not as much for somebody like me, you know what I mean? And it's funny that you asked me that because just today at lunch, Miranda and I were sitting there, and she has to leave in a couple of days and go back out on the road. She's like, "What are you going to do on your day off coming up?" And I said, "I don't know. I just sit at the house or something." I guess she's like, "Man, why don't you ever go do anything? You need to get out and go do some things." I said, "Well, you tell me what there is for me to do in LA." And she kind of sat there for a minute. She goes, "Yeah, you're probably right. There's not much here for." I mean, there's a time or two where you may go out and grab a drink and go to a restaurant, but at sometimes you just go, "Man, I'd rather just sit at the house and then have a drink and watch Outdoor Channel or something." Man, I mean, that really is my Los Angeles existence, And being out here, I love to deer hunt and things, and you don't dare talk about that stuff around here, you know what I mean? So I'm just kind of screwed.
The glamorous life. Anyway, I am in Los Angeles this week with my co-host Blake Shelton as we head on to number 11. Here's the Zac Brown Band and The Wind.
30,000.
It's Wanted. We're counting down the hits this week with Blake Shelton, and I think everybody knows that you're pretty good friends with Kelly Clarkson. Back in April, she won an ACM award with Jason Aldean, and she was one of your special guest mentors during Season 2 of The Voice. So it sounds like you've gotten to know her pretty well.
I have, actually. I mean, I love Kelly. I love her as a person, and she is like family to me, and I'd do anything for her. I think she's just a unique, really good person, and I'm glad to see her having success in country music. She's one of those artists that, like, back in the day, Eddie Rabbitt had pop hits and country hits.
Right.
And so did Olivia Newton-John. Kelly's the current version of that, you know what I mean? It's like she's country music's cousin, you know what I mean? I guess that's the best way you can put it, and I hope she goes and makes a sure enough country album and not just country versions of her pop songs, because I really do think that she could have an album that could be huge in country music if she spends some time and actually makes a country record. And who knows, maybe or maybe not, but I'm still glad to see her be a part of the country family,
Yeah. Well, here she is. Kelly Clarkson along with Jason Aldean, Don't You Want to Stay?
I really hate to.
Jason Aldean along with Kelly Clarkson, their number one from a couple of years ago, Don't You Want to Stay? We're counting down the hits this week with Blake Shelton. Up next in the countdown is Keith Urban. He just completed the Australian version of The Voice, and I've read some things that he really enjoyed it. And, of course, it's a little tougher travel schedule getting to Australian back. But have you talked to him since he's done it?
Man, I talked to him while he was doing it. It was actually this year, and I was hosting the ACM Awards this spring. And I was backstage doing some things, and he come walking by, and he was like, "Hey, I need to talk to you if I can." And I was like, "Sure." And we traded numbers, and he said, "Man," he goes, "I got a whole new appreciation for what you do now." And at the time I thought, what is he talking? And then he's like, "Man, you really get attached to these kids." And I thought, "Oh my gosh, he's talking about The Voice. That's right, And I can't imagine, if he was on our panel. If I was up there auditioning and I had a chance to work with Keith Urban, I mean, here's a guy who produces, writes, he plays, he sings, he's everything. You know what I mean? He would be the guy I would want for a coach.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And of course, the guy we're talking about is Keith Urban, who's next at number 9 for you.
With all I saw.
Jana Kramer up 1 to number 8. Why You Wanna? We're here counting down the hits this week with Blake Shelton. We've talked about the fact that you're working on a Christmas album, and I guess there are really, 3 ways to do one. All classics, and try to find some new songs, or all new songs, which has got to be pretty difficult. So which path did you take?
We did the second. It's got 4 brand new songs on it. 3 of which that I co-wrote. One I co-wrote with my mother, and I asked her to come in and actually sing on it with me. So she sings on the song with
Which
me too.
track?
It's called "Time for Me to Come Home," and it's basically about going home to be and seeing your mom on Christmas, and it's really not Christmas without that,
The name of the album, we didn't even get there.
And the name of the album is "Cheers, It's Christmas," which I had to do something that sounded like I was holding a glass of adult beverage. So
Yeah, I think I saw the album cover. You shot that, right?
yeah, we did the album cover, and which was the most stupid thing. I mean, that's really dumb to me, is shooting a Christmas album cover in June in Nashville. But and so they had all this fake snow they were throwing everywhere, and I just felt really dumb.
Well, we are talking about Cheers, It's Christmas. That'll be available everywhere on October 2nd. It's Blake Shelton's Christmas album. So we head back to the countdown here with Blake. We're at number 7. This is the band Perry, Postcard from Paris.
I remember.
Little Big Town up 1 to number 5. It's also the week's hottest song. That's Pontoon. Blake Shelton's along as our co-host this week. We now come to your song in the countdown, Over. Tell me just about why you chose this song. What struck you about it? Why you wanted to record it?
Man, Over was a song that definitely became one that was a fan favorite, and it seemed like the audience kind of gravitated towards that one. And it's interesting nowadays. Used to, when you'd pick a single, it was just kind of a blind, it felt like you were just throwing darts at a dartboard, to pick a single. It just kind of came down to whatever you thought people would like. But now you can kind of, with the way digital music is, you can kind of see which one on the album people are downloading the most, and stuff like that. And there's Twitter, and people can tell you right then on Twitter, what song do y'all like on the album, and they all will answer you, and it's awesome. And Over has been one of the leading songs on the record. It's like, man, let's give the fans what they want. Who cares if every time I sing it, blood comes flying out of my throat? I can't talk for the next 2 weeks. I mean, that thing is up there. But I don't know. I'm real excited to see how well it's doing, because even though you kind of know that that's the one the fans want, it doesn't mean that it's the one that your average country listener wants to hear. And it's always a relief when you see a song that is making that connection with everybody outside of just your own fan base,
Yeah. Well, here it is, the song we're talking about from my co-host Blake Shelton. It's at number 4, Over.
If I could.
My co-host Blake Shelton up 1 to number 4. That's Over. And listen, before we leave that song, I know that you sang it on the finale of The Voice last year, but had you had a chance to sing that song live before then?
No, that was the very first ever live performance.
Yeah, and that's where I was going with that. It's like, because it's tough.
Yeah.
It's like, So
I don't know if you could tell me. It's like people said, "Man, you really got into that." It's like, no, that song was beating the hell out of me. I was just fighting for my life up there. Since then, I think I've kind of gotten a little bit more used to it, and I've figured out some tricks and ways to sing it and make it believable and still hit my notes, but not leave lungs laying out on the stage.
That's neat. I love how you just keep pushing that. That's cool. Well, from your song at number 4, it is on to number 3 in the countdown. Here's Kenny Chesney, Come Over. Gloriana up 1 and number 2, that's Kissed You Goodnight. We're counting down the hits here with Blake Shelton. We're at his rented home in the Hollywood Hills. And a bit ago, we're talking about your Christmas album, but are you also doing a new studio album?
Yeah, believe it or not, I am. We were, when we were cutting the Christmas songs in here, we decided, man, we ought to work on the next, studio album in here also. It's kind of works, and I can do it while I'm out here filming, and it's probably what we'll do. We've got 7 songs, I think, actually recorded as the tracks, and I just got to put my voice on them, and I'm hoping to have a new album next year. In fact, I honestly don't see any way around it. I'm pretty sure we will. I just don't.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure of that too. I just wasn't figuring out how you were going to find time to do it. But I'm sure everybody at the label is saying, yes, you will.
Yeah, I think we probably will, whether I like it or not. But I actually, I'm ready for a new record. I'm just now getting to play at the level that I always dreamed of, at this level of doing what I do and getting to play some bigger shows and step into some arenas and stuff, and all that does is light more of a fire under you, and because I'm doing the TV stuff, that gives me more of an inch to make a record, because I just want people to always know that's still what I do, and it's not going away. I'm not going to stop making records while I'm doing this. I'm going to keep it going.
Well, I think this cruise might actually come at a good time. I think you need a little break away from TV and from traveling and concerts.
You probably won't see me on a cruise. I'll probably be the guy I'll probably sleep for 7 days straight without ever waking up.
Anyway, it's on to the number 1 song in the USA, along with our co-host Blake Shelton. This is Love and Theft and Angel Eyes.
She likes whiskey.
That's Love and Theft with their very first number 1, Angel Eyes. And there they are, the top 30 country hits in the USA as compiled by Country Art Check. We've been counting them down with Blake Shelton, along with the voice and amazing amount of other things. You do have time for concerts.
I do.
And you got a few dates there.
It's a blur to me, but we're going to be in Allentown, Pennsylvania on August 29th, Canfield, Ohio on September 2nd, York, Pennsylvania the 12th, Hidalgo, Texas on the 26th of September, Corpus Christi then the next day on the 27th, and Thackerville, Oklahoma, which is only about an hour and a half from my house, on September 28th. That ought to be a fun show.
All right. Well, if I came to Hollywood Hills to do this, it means that you're not in Nashville much. So if I don't see you between now and October 14th, have fun with the voice, and we'll see you in Miami on that cruise ship. Huh?
Can't wait, buddy.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. Thanks.
Yes, sir.